with brothers and sisters, and I just pray your Spirit here give Rudy wisdom as he teaches. Give us wisdom to receive it, and thank you most of all for Jesus and the blood that makes all of this possible. In your holy name we pray. And everybody said, Amen.
Good morning, and happy Father's Day. Like that. It gets you to think, and I just like it. You just need to stay here and keep doing it, you know? So, Father's Day. Have you ever heard the term like father, like son? You know, everybody, especially everyone in here, we all want to be great fathers. Every one of us. If you're not a father, if you're not married, your goal in life, long term, is to be a father. That's just, I guess we're designed that way. Nobody, maybe in the world, but nobody, no Christian wants to just get up one day and be a hard dad, a hard father. No one. And us as fathers, I'm going to preach to the fathers and the boys today. If you girls and ladies get something out of it, then great. But I think throughout the year, we talk a lot about the mothers, and the mother's job is it's the hardest job. I think it's the most important job. But second to that is the job of a father. We're made to provide, take care of. In fact, I would say that a mother's love is so great, okay, that it's hard for a mother to push the children out. Like maybe it's their first time swimming. Can you guys hear me okay? I forgot to turn on my mic. Think about swimming. The mother's like, oh no, we got to put on a life jacket, which is good. But for us fathers, hey, especially for our little boys, we want them to learn how to swim. We want them to be like, maybe 20 years down the road, someone says, hey, where'd you learn that? My dad taught me. I want John Wayne to think that I was his mentor. I want him to feel that. Maybe you help your children know Christ. I want my children to look back and say, my dad did that. That's every father's dream. And think about the role model that us as fathers have. God himself. God himself has a whole bunch of promises in the Bible. A whole bunch of promises. We can always kneel down. We can ask for wisdom. All kinds of things. Do we do the same thing for our children? Do we encourage them? So, honoring fathers. And you know, I didn't really think as Father's Day as being a holiday several years ago. But it means the world to you, all the fathers and mothers, if your son, or maybe he'll come up and say, hey, happy Father's Day, Dad. Or maybe he'll do something for you. It feels good. I don't know. It feels good to me. Think about the love that God had for us. Think about that. If you go to Luke chapter 15, you'll read about the prodigal son. And I don't want to talk about the prodigal son. I want to talk about the father of the prodigal son. He looked out when he came back. First of all, when his son said, hey, I'd like to have half of what's mine, and then I'm leaving. The dad could have said, nope, du sollst grad da bleiben. No, he didn't. He was like, you know, okay. We were just talking about this. God forbid that John Wayne ever wants to go away for a long, long time. But I was just telling whoever I was around, I said, you know what? If John Wayne would decide to do that, and by the way, don't get any ideas now, I would literally probably help him pack his bags. I know that's a hard thing it's a hard thing for me to say, and maybe I get that from my dad, because my father would have done that. He would have said, you're always welcome back. I'll help you pack your bags, and my home's always open. My dad would have done that. So that's what I want to do, because like father, like son, took me for about 20 till I was 25 till I realized my dad knew anything. You know what I mean? It took me a long, long time to figure out my dad was a smart dad. And now, so many times my mouth opens and my dad comes out. It's like, that's something my dad would have said. But no, think about the prodigal son's father. First of all, he let him go. But then when he came back, he saw him from afar off. Think about that. He was so excited. He put a ring on his finger, slaughtered the fatted calf. Not just any old calf, the fatted calf. He had a huge party. So we have so many, many examples how to be a great father. Because the question often comes, we listen to podcasts, we listen to people talk. What is a great father? And everybody has their own interpretation of being a great father. First of all, part of being a great father is having Jesus in your life. We would all acknowledge that. Because you can't give what you ain't got. You got to be a great husband to be a great father. There's nothing for me to look back and remember when Dad came home with a bouquet of roses for Mom. We didn't say nothing, obviously, but now looking back, those were some really cool times. Some really cool times. I wouldn't trade it for nothing. All those memories, Dad helped Mom. My dad literally stayed home from work to help Mom wash the house on the inside, like Opbisha. That's commendable, especially go back 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So, like father, like son, like our father, like us. We want to be like our father. I have a story that I want to share. It's about a father and a son. And like all his fathers, when the children are small, dad's the hero, right? Dad's the hero. Well, then they get bigger and bigger, and dad knows less and less. In some occasions, not all occasions, but in this occasion it was. Dad knew less and less, and finally it got to the point where they resented each other. And Dad told his son, you need to get out of the house. You need to move over here. And back in those days, I guess he just went close by, built a cabin, lived there. Years and years went by, and we know how bitterness goes. It just stays there. It won't go away by itself. So the dad, you guys might have heard this story. The father hired someone to build a fence between him and his son, like a big tall fence. Because he thought if he'd build a fence, he wouldn't see what was going on, and therefore it would take all his, memories, troubles, whatever, away. So he hired somebody. He went on his way. The father went on his way, and he left the contractor there to do his thing. When he came back that night, there was no fence there, but there was a bridge. I guess there was a river alongside. He was one side of the river. The son was the other side of the river. So he built a bridge instead of a fence, and the guy was like, "Why did you do this for?" Then he looks over, and his son was coming across the bridge, tears in his eyes, and he said, "Dad, I can't believe you built a bridge for all the things that I've done, and now you build a bridge so I can come across without, going around or whatever. You just build a bridge. Thank you so much." And I'm thinking, there's more to that story, but man, that wasn't even, the father didn't even know he was doing something, or I guess it wasn't meant that way, but God had a different plan. And so let's build bridges and not fences. Because I know a lot, and I'm sure you guys do too. You know a lot of families who there's a fence there between dads. Not as much mothers. Not as much mothers, but a lot of times fathers and sons, there's a fence there. And for multiple different reasons. Like Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord, right? And also in Luke 15, we see where God was illustrating a woman lost its coin, and she searched and searched till she found that one coin. And God was saying that's how much love he has for the person that's out there. And also the sheep. He had 99 sheep and lost one, or 100 sheep and lost one. And he went out and looked for that one sheep till he found it. Especially children, they watch how a father treats his wife, how a father leads. I know for us, if we have, maybe not all fathers, but at least for me, sometimes it's hard for me to find time to just devote my life for whatever, 30 minutes to an hour per day for God. It's in the busyness of life, my goal is to every day, that's my goal. You pray, you read, and by doing that, you're conveying that to your children. Like, this is how to be a great father. We just came back from a trip, went to Colorado, and that's all good. We had a lot of fun. And I was thinking, children will remember that, but you know what they remember long after that's gone is what legacy they left. And Dwylan preached on this a couple months ago about legacy. And it brought me, I remember maybe 2 months ago, my wife and I, Emma, were in Galveston, Texas, and there was an old graveyard there in Galveston. I mean, I'm talking, the dates were back in the 1700s. There's really, really old graveyard, and looked like most of them were wealthy. And they had tombstones, huge tombs. And we were walking along, and it was beautiful. They had wildflowers and everything, and I'm thinking to myself, how many fathers are there? How many sons are beside their fathers? And think about it. Someday, as a father, someone else will own your truck. Someone else will own your property. 100 years from now, what'll be there? Where you live at right now, 100 years from now, will it be there? Somebody else will live there and probably don't even care what you cared about at that place. But you know what? Your legacy lives on. Depending on what kind of a legacy, it'll live on for generations. But walking through that graveyard, I don't know, I just felt something. Wonder how many people are saved in here. I mean, there was probably thousands of people buried in this graveyard. Think about that. Someday, this whole congregation will be buried somewhere. Think about that. And how you lived your life. The body is there, but your soul is not in the graveyard. That's what I found peace there. I'm like, you know what? Yes, we will all be in some graveyard somewhere, but it doesn't matter because our soul is not laying there. Our soul is not laying there. Our soul is somewhere, and you know what? You get to choose. That is the most beautiful thing. You get to choose where your soul will be someday. God gave you that free choice. So that is so incredible. I listened to a podcast about time and a million years from now, 1,000 years from now, and that right there gets me to thinking. Sometimes I think, I don't think it's negative. I think it's just it makes you reflect. But we went to Colorado and we had such an amazing time. I would encourage everybody, maybe one time in your life. I know it's not for everybody, but some people don't like to travel. Imagine that. They don't like to hunt. They don't like to travel. I'm thinking, what in the world? What would you do for fun? And so, but they have their own little things that they do. Maybe golf, maybe just not, maybe work. I know people that they love the work so much that's their hobby. And so my hat's off to you. But take your children somewhere. A Sunday afternoon walk, maybe kayaking, out on a pontoon, whatever. It don't have to be anything extravagant. Grab a picnic lunch and take them somewhere. Because that right there is a reset button. And it builds a connection between the children and the father. I was talking about mothers keep their children from stepping out most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. They keep them from stepping out. Well, us men, us fathers, we want them to know how to swim. We want them to know how to shoot a gun and shoot a bow and, their first BB gun, their first pony or trampoline or whatever it is. I think as fathers, if we connect with our children when they're small, it's much easier to have their connection when they're older. I heard a saying, I know it's maybe not for everybody, but they said the reason, and he actually said the reason, which I don't think I'd go that far, is for so many teenagers to rebel is because the connection with the father, not the mother, the father and the children is not where it's supposed to be. So that was very thought-provoking. I'm thinking, maybe not in all situations, because I do know some families that had maybe a stray that'll just go off in left field. Maybe it's the company they're around, but us fathers, we have a huge, huge responsibility. But it's a joy. I mean, Em and I talk about it all the time. It's really, really cool having a teenager in your house. I'm serious. I had literally thought maybe when they were 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 years old, oh, this is the time of our life. This is what's cool. But having a teenager is pretty cool too. I've made some notes here. A great father prays, reads scriptures. We talked about that. Trust God during difficult times. Now, that is really hard for a father sometimes because you know what? The buck stops here. The buck stops here. Em and I can talk about it. We can pray about it. But at the end of the day, your relationship between you and God matters so much in difficult times because He truly is the only one that can help you through it. If you think about Abraham's life influenced Isaac, Isaac influenced Jacob, Jacob influenced the 12 tribes, and then look what the 12 tribes, they went out and just did. And that was a whole generation of things that happened there. I would like at this time, I thought I'd give everyone a little bit of time, if they want to, if a testimony about your father. Like anything great, I would love to hear it. Like anything about what happened as a little boy, maybe older, something that stuck out that we could all learn from.
Yeah, I have a great relationship with my father. It's, I don't know, I sometimes feel maybe guilty that he doesn't talk more about you or about life and things like that. And I get to work with him most every day. Get to take business over stuff like that. So I had learned a lot from him and will continue to do so for years as well. So I do appreciate that.
Wow, that's so cool.
So, it's just, for me,
have resentment for your dad, or you feel guilty, or you're mad about your dad, what he did to you, you know, just forgive that. At the end of the day, he did his best.
Absolutely.
He did his best, and you're going to fail as well. You're not any better than your dad. And I appreciate my dad. You know, he's still here, and some people don't get to say that.
Amen.
So I am super grateful for my dad, because he would have decided, I wouldn't be here where I'm at without him. And so would getting good. We wouldn't be here without him. God knew that thing back already. Like, how is that not going to belong to anybody else except my dad? That's the only reason we are here.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. I mean, God knows we're not perfect fathers, that's for sure. And like I said, my dad and I did not have a good relationship growing up either. It took me until I was about 25 to realize that there's a lot of it was me. So thanks for sharing.
I can't say that I had ever took the took time on to speak that way in front of my dad. But my dad was, I've said it before, like he said, he didn't have designation with his dad, so that's the way it was for me. It's just kind of like a generation thing. But I feel from my children, our children, I don't think there is one that I don't feel the love from them towards us parents, even though we made many mistakes. And I don't want to shift any blame off my shoulder, but just where we are now and looking back, some of that pain we caused for children was from religious setting. But that's still, I'm still a dad of that home and the children that we had. It's not shirking duties or responsibilities, but it's just realizing and knowing who God is and and who brought us where we are now is the love of God. Reflecting back to my dad, we didn't connect in any conversations as far as struggles or things in life that we would have should have shared together. But I know he was. I mean, I know he got frustrated sometimes. We could tell naturally. But he never was this dad that would grab a club or a stick or something, just beat us or yell us and cuss us out or whatever that way. And I know in later years, got married and moved away and then got married. But anyway, I could feel the Father's love towards us, whatever happened in life before. And he got up to 76 years old, and they lived with us at the time in Wisconsin. And I don't know whether because he lived with us in a small house attached, but anyway, when he was down on his deathbed and needed help, some of the siblings came by and they wanted to help, but he would ask for me to come and help him. He didn't want the others to. I mean, it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was because I'm special, but it was more comfort to him, I guess, for me because we lived there. I don't know what. Well, we started that. I guess we started that connection or to take him for help or been there for him. And as the sibling showed up as much more like a stranger, he was more uncomfortable with those then he asked for men to come in. I remember one day I was up in the field doing something. Somebody came up and said, "Dad wants you to come in." And I dropped everything right there and come in, and he needed help. And I helped him out. And yeah, I can still say for everything that from a young child growing up and on in life, it was only by the grace of God and the love of Jesus to connect all that back together in forgiveness and no resentment, just be there for each other.
Yep.
And that was precious. And like I said before, the night he passed away, I was outside getting a horse in to go get some help or let the guy know about his passing, and that was the Amish undertaker, whatever you call it. And yeah, that was just to me it was like a rejoicing moment, not for his death, but my spirit was just singing out. What's this song that no, I can't even think of it. Every time it gets sung, I think about it. It's about how beautiful heaven must be. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was just repeating and repeating in my mind. I wasn't seeing it, but my mind was seeing it. How beautiful heaven must be. It was the joy that I felt for my dad to be going into heaven.
That's precious. Absolutely. And one thing that our Father does for us is he extends a lot of grace. Much, much grace to us as fathers, as parents. And then I think he wants us to extend grace for our children as well. Especially, I'm not talking about tolerating sin or anything like that. I'm just saying extending grace. I'd like to, I think I shared this once before, the importance of fatherhood in this world today. There's a census out, and I'm going to read it off to you. It's very thought-provoking. According to the U.S. Census, 1/4 of the children in the United States grow up without a father. 33% of children are born outside of marriage, and this statistic outside of cities, it goes to 50% inside the cities. So think about that. 50% of the children in cities are without a father. And this is older. This is not just recent. 85% of American prisoners are without a father. 85%. There's an organization that has a prison ministry, and every year they put something together. They give all the inmates a letter or a note, and they can write on the note what they want for Christmas, or what they want, like maybe it's cards. They request addresses and things like that. So all the prisoners have a letter that they want to give their mother, a card for Mother's Day. And they did it, I don't know how many, it's just thousands of prisoners, only 6 requests for fathers. 6 requests for all those prisoners that these prison ministries preach to, only 6 for Father's Day. So, super thought-provoking. We are so blessed. So blessed. I know 80% of us probably didn't have the best home life, ideal home life, but we're still so blessed. We're sitting in here at a congregation that cares about us, truly. We're here to encourage each other. Most of us, we have a family that cares about us. It's awesome. It's awesome. I would just love to encourage every father, love your wife. Love your wife, because that conveys to the children that love. Because you know what? Unless there's a death in the family, the children will be long gone and you're still with your spouse. Just remember that. Just remember that. So I would just encourage you, have family devotions. I know we're not perfect in that, but at least, do whatever you can to have family devotions. Love your wife, and that'll convey to your children. Back to you, Elias.